Hey guys, today we've got with us Ira Peskowitz, who is a name you may recall from the headlines. He's been an alienated father, and we're going to hear a little bit about his history, but we're going to focus more on the present day reunification and what's going on there. Welcome, Ira. How are you, buddy?
Hi, David. How are you? And thank you for having me.
I'm good, man. It's been a great week here in Southern California. We have a lovely little heat wave going on. So
Same here in South Florida.
yeah, but don't you guys have a hurricane coming in? Aren't you supposed to be
Yeah,
like boarding up the windows?
that went up the coast north, and some of the waves are affecting the Carolinas, but it really didn't impact us here in Florida, which is good.
That's good. Nice. So I would give us a brief overview of your history of being an alienated dad. Like, what was the background? We don't want to go too deep into it, but because that's a story that is all too common. I'd like to focus more on, what's going on today and how has it turned out?
Okay, well, I had a little girl 22 years ago. I was not married. Um, I don't want to say trickery and deception to obtain a conception was kind of on the table, but um, I got a female, obviously pregnant, and we had a child. And I wanted to be part of that child's life. It was important because at 10 months old, I was adopted. So I kind of know what it's like to be given up or not having your parents and important things. Like I have great parents right now who adopted me, and it's awesome. I cannot ask for anything more. So I had a child. I wanted to be part of her life. It kind of got a little difficult. Um, my family and I discussed, type of legal actions to protect me, to protect my daughter, and to get visitations. Um, Obviously, obtaining an attorney with an open credit card was a huge mistake uh, that I didn't realize occurs regularly. That every time you pick up the phone and you start billing and billing and billing and billing, and now you're hundreds of dollars away and thousands of dollars away, or your retainer fee is just gone. And they haven't really done anything because you're just consulting with them. Got kind of alarming. So went through some battles, won some battles, lost some battles. I'm in the courtroom. A lot of the things in the beginning
Yeah.
were very stressful. A lot of mud was thrown in my face. Making people perceive that I was this bad parent and bad person. I was a threat to my daughter. And I'm saying to myself, wow, that's pretty weird because, I've been a police officer for 31 years. And when people call 911 and help with their families, I show up there and I help with their families and I could diffuse situations and help kids and help parents. But I'm not good enough to help my own child. So does that make sense to you, David? I don't think so. So we went through it.
I got to say, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense from a realistic perspective, but it's a very common story of I'm not good enough to parent my own kids, but I'm good enough to be a stepdad to somebody else's kids.
Right. Or a teacher at a school, right? Or a pediatrician,
Right.
or anybody else that deals with kids, a coach. But you're a college coach of a Division A tennis team, and you could coach all these kids. I say kids, but teenagers, whatever. And you're responsible
Sure.
for them, but you're not good enough for your own child. So yeah, you're
Right.
right, David. It's pretty scary that they could throw that picture out on you. And I'm not saying that there are few and in between incidents where some parents need to be monitored and or should not be near their children. But I got to tell you something, as a police officer in all these years that I've arrested people and children were involved, you take the mother or father in custody. Obviously, if the children are there, they see it. You like for it to be as least traumatic as possible for the child because you're taking their
Mhm.
parent away and you're putting them in the back of a police car handcuffed. And if the little kid says, "Hey, can I just say goodbye to my daddy?" or if the dad says, "Hey, can I say goodbye to my kid?" I say yes. I let them go up to the window as long as it's not like this horrible, horrific crime that they committed or danger. So while you're in custody and you're handcuffed, me as a human being, I still let the parent be a parent and I let the child be with their parent.
Mhm.
I don't judge that person at that time and discredit them as a parent. Yeah, they made a mistake in life, they committed a crime, but those are the things that the courts do to people. They determine that you should be a parent, not be a parent. You should visit your child. You should do your
Right.
things. And most of it, David, is not on factual events. It's all on what is brought up, what is generated from one attorney to another. You put an emotion, I put an emotion. You know, a lot of times they talk to each other behind the scenes. Hey, I just got another $5,000 here. I got another $5,000 here. Let's do this motion. Let's do that motion.
That
And it goes forth and goes forth. Don't tell me it
that's
does not.
not the way that works.
Okay, David. But anyways, I know you're gonna edit
It's
that
not.
part, but that's okay.
It's not. It's not. We don't.
David.
It's not the way that happens.
All right, all right. Are you telling me
I
that
know
you
you
got?
guys love to believe that like we're all in collusion and we're just plotting against you, but it's not. The
Listen,
reality is so much of this drama is driven by the crazy borderline narcissistic bad moms that are out there. They're the ones that are driving most of this stuff. If you talk to most divorce lawyers, they're going to tell you borderline moms are the greatest clients you can have if they've got a big wallet. But other than that, they're insane. They're the
mhm.
ones that are driving all this most of the time.
Listen. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, but you take that back. I haven't spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. The mother of my daughter, who used my daughter's money, has spent over hundreds of thousands of dollars to keep me away. It cost me over six figures, yes, throughout the 18 or 19 years of litigation.
Yeah.
But if you think if someone is going to use that kind of money to keep a child away from a parent, there's something wrong. Why wouldn't you want to
Well,
keep that?
what
You
were
know,
you asking for? What when you were going into court? What were you trying to? What was the role you were trying to be? Were you trying to cut mom out?
no, I was just trying to get um, visitation on the books and to establish child support. And I really wanted 50-50. Um, I wanted my daughter to grow up with my family half the time, and then obviously go with the mother the other half of the time. But
Yeah.
that was not going to happen. Um, the mother, did everything in her power, financially, calling law enforcement, calling my place of employment over 50, 60 times, making frivolous allegations, calling state agencies, federal agencies, writing letters to politicians, to the media. She just did not stop trashing me and trying to destroy my career and my fatherhood. So, and it didn't
Yeah.
stop with me. She went after my wife and my wife's place of employment. She harassed my family and my biological family. She tormented people. She tormented my biological father, which eventually he committed suicide. And I'm not saying that she's 100% at fault, but I could tell you, David, that during the time when I reconnected with my adopted parents, that was right when my daughter was born. So
Yeah.
I took some of my experience and I looked and I was able to obtain where my mom was. Once I met my mom, she told me who my dad was. My dad, a Vietnam vet, he came back from Vietnam, and he had a lot of post traumatic stresses, and he got addicted
Sure.
to some drugs and stuff. He was living a okay life. I mean, he was functional and everything, but he'd call me, and I never met him in person. He'd call me and he'd say some bizarre things, and he's like, "Hey, who's this girl Barbara? Why is she telling me that you're a horrible father and blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Don't listen to her." And then I call her and I tell her, "Leave my biological father out of this. He does not. He just has a son that just reappeared in his life that he didn't deny that he was the father. But now you're calling and giving all
Right.
these negative things that I'm this loser of a dad and doesn't want to see, his child and all that kind of stuff." So eventually, I think a lot of things just added up, and he, you know, took a tube, stuck it to the back of his exhaust pipe of his Cadillac and in a garage and killed himself through carbon monoxide. So um, she's had a lot of negative communications with him, and I'm telling you that she had a
Yeah.
big part of his suicide. Like I
Okay,
said, I never met
but
him, and I went to
but at
his
that
funeral.
time, who are you as a person? Like you've got this newborn baby, you're trying to just establish yourself as a dad. You just want a regular 50% custody, but who are you as a person? Are you dealing with your own substance abuse issues or is that not a problem?
No, I don't have substance abuse. I don't have
Okay.
anything hereditary that came down from my father,
Okay.
which you're always concerned that a lot of times people get substance abuse, either from substance abuse, gambling habits, all this kind of stuff from a parent because it's hereditary. But I've never had these issues. Um,
Right.
with the stresses in my life, I've never came home on a drink every day. I didn't sit home and start popping pills and drinking. I didn't do illegal substances ever while I was
But
going
you
through
were
this stuff.
active duty on the
So
police force at this point,
right,
right?
yes, of course, and we get randomly drug tested anyways. So
So all of the craziness allegations that she's putting out there basically were just utter lies because everything in your life points to the fact that you've got everything laid out to be a great dad.
correct. I,
Okay.
I was I I took I during a part of my career I had this program. It was called Kids and Police Tennis Association. I took thousands of kids in the inner cities and the communities and put them together, and I brought tennis and education. And I flew these kids out from Florida to New York to watch the U.S. Open, and they'd never been on planes before, and they went on the subways. They'd never been out of their little communities, and I was able to sell this program. And this program actually made it to um, Department of oh my goodness, one of the federal agencies about how bonding, I forget what it was, how bonding law enforcement and the communities together works. And they used my program as an example in it, how it was. So I could take all these other kids out and about and educate them. Not I was educated, but assist with their education, mentor them, guide them, be around them. I could have 50, 60, 100 kids on tennis courts, but I can't be with my one daughter. And parents
Right.
allow me to mentor and be around their children. And a lot of these kids, they came from broken homes. A lot of these kids were single parents. A lot of these kids were part of some issues, and some come from great homes. So a part of me had a big um, feeling in my heart that had the emptiness of my daughter that I wanted to be able to give back to others that my daughter wasn't able to be part of. Because I learned later in life how she used to want to be with me. She told me a story once, David, that when she was going to school as a little kid, she seed everybody else's daddies come up pick up these little girls, and she's like, "Well, where's my daddy?" I mean, those are the things that break my heart now. She tells me a lot of stuff now that she's back in my life that she was um, told fibs, basically complete lies about why I left,
How
what I
long
was
was
about.
she out of your life?
What? Say
How
again?
long was she out of your life?
Uh, I was able to see her when she was 13 for a couple weeks, but then it got really bad with the mother, who made it very difficult. And then we stopped, and then she actually went on, like we'll discuss, Dr. Phil. And then from there, nobody wanted me around because I didn't agree at that time what they were doing with her. And I was fighting that in the courts. And that's when they were able to obtain a lot of money and a lot of support and hire numerous amount of attorneys from entertainment, family, criminal, uh, business related stuff just to keep me away. So I had a lot to fight besides the mother. I had all these attorneys. And don't forget, when you have all these attorneys, and what other attorneys do is legal fees. There's a lot of legal fees. And I'm fighting battles that I
Right.
shouldn't even be fighting over. It has nothing to do, but since they have this little girl that's a product, her managers, her mom, all these other people wanted to exploit her and use her to make a lot of money. And they knew if I was in the way as a father, I would probably prevent a lot of that, or most of it, anyways.
Do you think that some of the keeping you away was a way for them to keep her name in the press? Were they doing it for press reasons?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, because when you come up with this name, Bad Baby, you have to have a persona or an image to hold up. Like this
Right.
poor girl from the inner city who grew up just with her mom and her dad's not part of her life. Yeah, of course they played some of this stuff, and when they did some of her early year rap videos, did they try to mimic me or make fun of me or mock me? Of course they did. Uh, you know, uh,
Yeah.
doing those things. And it was part of the stuff. And then in the background scenes, which you did see, one of them was one of the managers sent some false emails to an editor about, you better remove this article, or oh, we're going to sue you. You're going to slander and defamation, whatever. I was just telling the truth. There's not any time that I know that I would throw something up in the courts or type on something that was untruthful, and I couldn't hold it up in the court of law or with facts or documentation. On the other hand, the other side,
Yeah.
were able to talk about all this stuff, and I couldn't defend it. It was horrible. I mean, I remember even the last time that
Sure.
the judge would yell at me, telling me to shut up when someone from the Department of Juvenile Justice was lying to the judge. And the judge is sitting there nodding his head like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to explain to him that she is lying to you, blatantly lying to you, and I have proof that she's lying to you, and it's on documentation. And
Mhm.
it was I just frustrated the fact that, number one, that the lies went through, but also frustrated as being a police officer for so many years, that you think when you're in the court of law, you have those signs in there: those who labor here seek the truth. I thought
Right.
that was golden, but I realized in that courtroom the truth was far from being accepted. Nobody wanted to hear the truth. Nobody wanted to know
Yeah.
the truth about this. They wanted to keep me away, all these years, and it had an impact on me. It had an impact on my family, and it had a huge impact on my daughter. And mostly every other child who's alienated these days probably go through the same thing similar to my daughter did: run away all the time, substance abuse, uh, early sex or sexual abuse, um, running away from homes numerous times, and then school education issues, dropping out of school, not completing their school stuff and everything, because it all comes back on the fact that one narcissistic crazy parent wants to
Mhm.
prevent that child to be with another parent, and they don't think about the adverse effects it has on the child. They just think about their vengeance and their anger and their
Right.
frustration on the others.
Yeah. They're focused on themselves. It's
Right.
it's not about anybody
Selfish.
else.
Right. It's not about anybody else. So, yeah, David, there's a lot that I go through. Other parents go through it for, a couple of months, or a couple of years, and they're so frustrated. And I'm like, listen, I went through this 18 plus years, and then even after she was 18, I was still getting letters from attorneys about telling me that I have no right to talk about my daughter, or no right to post pictures of my daughter or my granddaughter. I can't associate myself, as their father and grandfather. And I'm saying to myself, you first of all have a First Amendment right, and number two, I am your biological father and I'm your biological grandfather. So tell me where it says that I'm not allowed to share my love and my reunification with my child in any cases. Explain that to me. And you're threatening me. You're a
So
sleazeball.
so obviously, I mean, we know that the narcissist borderline personality is the honey badger of humanity. They're never going to stop. Like that's just the reality. And
This
there's
is
no
water,
one
just to let you know,
sugarcoating.
David. It's not beer. it's water. I'm not drinking any beer.
You're a big boy. You can do whatever you want. That's fine. I'm sure many people who watch this video have had a beer. So you've gone through all of this. What triggered the reunification?
um, Once my daughter, I guess, became her late teens, 17, 18, she kind of realizing her mother was lying to her. She kind of realized this stuff was just a little not normal. What she also realized was that how her mother allowed her to be sexually abused as a minor really took an impact on her. How her mother would fight with her physically took an impact on her. How she was growing up and dumped off at other people's homes to live because her mother didn't want to deal with her. I guess it hit her when she got a little older. And then she met her boyfriend, and he had a child from somebody else. And he went through something a little bit similar, but not really, really bad. And I I was able to connect with him, and for him being a dad, he understood and he kind of talked to her, and um, she called me one day, and because I gave him the number, and when she called me, she started yelling and screaming and cursing and why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Why are you such an asshole? You're fucking this, and just started cursing and going off, and you know you cheated on my mother, and I'm like, oh my god, she's like regurgitating all this stuff that I've known that her mom put in the back of her head because I've seen it on videos that the mom is in the back telling her
Right.
what to say, through live feeds about me and my wife. And I said, listen, Danny, please don't yell at me. And I have no problem to sit down with you, person to person, or in front of a therapist, which I kind of preferred to be in front of a therapist, kind of to relinquish all these stresses on all of us. And slowly but surely, I was trying to show her, and I was showing her documentations to support my claims. And then I was telling her about people that were around her growing up who've reached out to me, who used to be friends with Barbara, who now dismiss Barbara as a friend, calling her crazy and a narcissist. And they all reached out to me and said, hey, listen, Barbara's doing this, Barbara's doing that, Barbara's keeping away, Barbara's coming up with this plan, Barbara's doing that plan. So between one of her ex-boyfriends, between their neighbor who helped Danny grow up and stuff, and family members of Barbara reached out to me and told me all this stuff. I think I was able to put everything together and try to dispel a lot of the concerns to Danny about what her mom has said. And then, Danny coming to my house and saying, look, wow, she's got two brothers, and I live in a normal house. I have a wife, almost 22 years, and I'm not this creep that her mother built me up to be. And from there, it obviously I made a positive impact on her, and she started coming around more and more, and she came here, and then I went to go visit her out in California, in LA, and it built from there. And then, she got pregnant and had a little baby girl, Callie Love, who's a year and a half old now. And now, I'm a grandfather
Yeah.
and part of that child's life. It's an amazing feeling. I had a lot of tears. I had a lot of anger and frustration because I heard her stories, and I heard her pain, and I heard what she was going through, and I knew a lot of these things were going on there, and I was trying to get her the help all these years. And it's just frustrating that I was blocked, my family was blocked to try to benefit my daughter. Even before she became infamous and famous, I tried to get her on a lot of programs, but the mother decided Dr. Phil, after 3 attempts, was the way to focus on greatness to get her daughter back in track. So
Hey, Dad, if you have to go into family court to get more time to see your kids, you need every advantage possible. And at dadslawschool.com, we're going to give you those advantages. If you're having trouble getting the judge to see your proof, we're going to show you how to get that proof admitted so that it becomes evidence in court. If you're feeling lonely, isolated, overwhelmed, angry, abused, used, confused, all of those feelings, at dadslawschool.com, we've got support to help you through that stuff. You should come join our VIP program today and get the power and strength you need to go in and fight for your kids so that you can get the time you want and that they deserve. Have a great day, remember, I think you're freaking awesome. If you want more time with your kids, join our VIP program today. So you said something that really, I think, is, I mean, there's so many things to be asked. Like how do you navigate the dark nights and the depression for 10, 15 years? Like that's a huge issue that you're a warrior on. But the other one is you said you started showing her proof. Like had you kept all of the paperwork to be able to show her today
yes,
what was going on?
I've got emails that I've sent to my daughter, sent to the mother, wishing Danny a happy birthday. I miss her. I cry for her at nighttime. I want to see her. And all that stuff, you know what comes back?
Nothing.
Is a police report. The mother calls the police every time I try to have contact, and the police do a report. So I have all the documents to show how many times I tried to be in her life, and then I show the adverse effects of what happens when I'm a part of her life. It's either police report or a complaint to my place of employment or a complaint to a politician or a complaint to the state officials or the federal officials or whatever. So I'm able to show the things, or I'm also able to show the fact that I tried um, to go to court, and I tried to see you, and we did have a visitation plan set up, but your mother never showed up, and she came this claim that she's afraid of me and in fear of her life, and she can't be around me, and all this other kind of stuff. So it was just one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. So and attorneys fell for this shit because she was paying money, and they were fighting. They were fighting to keep her false narrative alive.
So what was Danny's reaction like when you would show her those emails? What was her immediate reaction to all of that?
She'd roll her eyes and she'd smile, and she'd say, "My mother's fucking crazy." She'd call her crazy all the time. She's crazy. She's crazy. She's crazy bitch. She constantly calls her mom crazy. I mean, she fights with her
Yeah.
physically, verbally, all these years.
So when you kept all of those emails, did you also show Danny like the court documents, like all the crap that was
No,
going
you
on?
know, it was interesting because Barbara would show her court documents as a little girl, a little kid, only showing her what would benefit her at the time, not our
Yeah.
responses. You know what I'm saying? Not our rebuttals, not our requests, only showing her what her attorneys put forth to make Danielle think that I didn't want anything part of
Right.
her life. So I didn't have an opportunity yet to share all this stuff with her because she gets it, but I think it really bothers her when it gets really, really deep in her head about this
Yeah.
stuff. So I don't really force it upon her. I let her
Right.
ask me if she wants to see stuff. But as I mentioned to you before, start putting this pen
Yeah.
to paper and write it in a book. And all these events are chronological and incredible with backed up documents or videos or phone calls or text messages
Sure.
or all this stuff. It's not just he say, she say, because these days nobody believes anybody if it's not on video. You know what I'm saying? No one believes anybody.
And soon not to believe that because it's all going to be AI created.
Right.
It's not going to
So,
be real.
yeah. So, there's a lot of stuff there, David, that's out there. Will I piss off some people in this book? Well, if you aren't such an asshole and if you aren't such a liar or a person who helped keep my daughter away from me, then your name wouldn't be on there. But the people who did help me throughout these years, their information will be on there. I'm not saying I'm going to throw everybody's names out there. People aren't smart enough to know who the attorneys are. All they have to do is go to the clerk of the courts and type in names, and they see all the attorneys. But I'm going to give factual events that happened in the courtroom and dispel all their lies that they said to the judge. And I'm also going to discredit the judge because the judge had no business sitting in this case. This was a judge who was 34 years old, 2 years as a prosecutor. His other coworkers said that he was lazy, didn't like practicing law, opened up his own little firm, made, I don't know, they saw somebody like $24,000 in a year. Then he ran for judgeship. And I was saying to
Yeah.
myself, when you walk in a courtroom, you see this, you know what it's like walking in a courtroom, right? You have this big
I've
desk,
been in a courtroom once or twice.
right? And this high, overlooking the stadium like you're the king of the room. And I would think that a judge would be tenured, seasoned, knowledgeable, ethical, moral, and would understand this stuff. This guy was clueless. This guy was clueless. Zero experience in family law. Zero. The only law that he practiced was in law school. And I don't even know how much you get a family law that you get in law school.
One
If
class.
you do. Right. So I asked for a public records request for his training for stuff, and he had minimal to nothing. So I have this guy who's presiding over this complex case of over, at that time was 13, 14 years, that was clueless. And the other attorneys who were these high power, big profile, big shots because they were spending a lot of money, were able to manipulate him because he's like, oh, why would this guy say this to me if it wasn't true? Why, whatever. Well, because they were being paid to tell a lie. So
Well, okay, so, sure, I get that. Uh, but the other side of this is, and you know, you probably come across this from the law enforcement side of we want to protect the victim. And so there's a lot of whoever plays the victim in family court is the winner. And I imagine Danny's mother was very good at playing a victim.
and still to this date, poor me, poor me. I'm a single mom. I'm a two-time breast cancer survivor. I can't work. I'm on disability. Everything's poor me. But she could spend all of her life digging up documents on me, on others, trashing people on social media, working very well with her hands.
Yeah,
And but she says she can't work anymore because I retired because I was disabled. And listen, I'm not taking anything away from anybody who has any cancer or breast cancer or whatsoever. But she
sure,
played that to make others feel pity for her. Poor me,
sure.
poor
It's
me,
the
poor me.
ultimate manipulation.
Right. And it's always about poor me. Um, and no matter how I might dislike her or not care for her or never want to see her again or deal with her again, she is the mother of my daughter. And I don't want my daughter to have to suffer or feeling down because her mother's ill or dies of cancer or whatever. So I still have some emotional feelings towards my daughter and towards the mother for her well-being. But she has done so much to my family and to me. Uh, so there's a lot of other things that I despise of her. But her
Okay.
health with cancer, you know, that I could have some sympathy with. But don't play the part that you can't work and you can't function and you can't do whatever, and then live off of. In one of the videos, my daughter states she gives her $10,000 a month, and then the other videos gives her $20,000 a month, buys her a house, buys her a car, doesn't have to pay any bills, and she's milking off my daughter. But she's saying that I can't work, poor me, poor me, poor me. But again, she shows that she could get public records, she could make complaints, she could follow people on social media. She does a lot of background checks on these people that post stuff about her. So she could very well work like a normal human being, like everybody else has to. But she
Sounds like
decided
she could
not
be a
to.
heck of a paralegal if she had any like ethics. She could be an amazing private investigator if she had any
She
actual
said that
desire to
she went
be
to paralegal
self-employed.
school. Right. She said she
Yeah.
went to paralegal school. Um, uh, I don't know if it was before or after she was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think it was afterwards. So if you went to school, you could still work. That's just me saying that.
Well,
But
as you know, and anybody who's dealing with these borderlines, it's a full-time job when you're in these custody battles. It's a full-time, full court press to just fight the flying monkeys of all of the false allegations.
and listen, David. So you think about this. I had a wife, a career, and two boys I was raising during the end of part of these litigations. So I had a whole life, and I was a son, I was a brother. I am a son, I am a brother. A cousin, an uncle. I had so much other things I had to do than just to focus on this stuff. And and think about the fact that not only was I paying $1,100 a month child support, but I was also paying legal fees, and I wasn't seeing my daughter. So you add all that stuff up, and then I get another letter from my place of employment that Barbara made another complaint. Another letter, Barbara made a complaint. Another letter here and there. So every time it would just regurgitate over and over and over again.
Sure.
And then another thing an attorney sends for me that I have to get in at a certain time, and we have to be there, and we have to be at court, and this and that and whatever. Um, there was a time once that right after my dad passed away, I went up to see my mom. After that, for a little bit, and my attorney goes, "Oh, you got to be back here. They're putting in this motion. You have to be in front of the judge, this and that, whatever." I fly back early to take away time from me being with my mom after my dad died, and then the attorney she postponed it. It infuriates me. It infuriates
Ira,
you know, and
I
I don't.
had that happen today.
Hmm,
Yesterday, my client we get the ex parte notice that we're going in, we want to change custody, blah blah blah, all the usual BS. I spend an hour, file my response. This morning we get the letter from the other side going, up, just kidding. We withdrew that. So I
hmm.
sent a letter over saying send me a check for $600.
Right.
Because if you want to play these games, like
Hmm.
it cost my client an hour of my time and an hour of their life to deal with this stuff.
Right.
And you don't get to just like pull the rug out. This is not peanuts. I'm not going to play Charlie Brown to who was the character that always pulled the football?
Oh,
Forget which one that was.
I don't remember. But that I remember that day clearly because I was traveling with my two boys, which they were younger at the time, a little dog, and I had to go from my mom's house out on eastern Long Island, get them on a train to a bus to a train. For me to get a normal flight, I had to fly out of Newark, New Jersey, spend the night at somebody's house, and then fly out that next morning to be there in time. So I couldn't get any other flights or the reasonable price or whatever for 3 people. And not only that, but we missed the connecting flight because the flight was delayed. So think about that stress on that whole trip that I
Mm-hmm.
had to be back there at such and such date and time. I had to inconvenience my whole family and go back. And then the attorney's like, whatever, no big deal.
Yeah.
And the same attorney who blatantly lied to the judge over and over and over and over again. Blatantly lied. She's a disgrace to the bar. She's a disgrace to being a mother, and she's a disgrace to being a human being. Tell me how you can do all that stuff to destroy a person's life, take all that money, and then on the weekends you're out playing tennis, playing golf, giggling with your family, while you're destroying other people's lives. You have to have something psychologically, mentally wrong with you if you think that's okay.
Well, I mean, to play the devil's
Don't
advocate on this
advocate because you're
case,
a family
he
attorney, yes,
is
David.
he is doing her job because she believes that her client is the victim.
Well, I don't
There's
think she
no
believed that.
independent analysis of what is my client's role in all this.
She sent an email or told my past attorney that she will never represent this woman ever again when it was all said and
That's
done.
good. So, okay, somewhere along the line, she did find some ethics.
Yeah, but after the bill was stopped, after the case was concluded, she didn't do it while,
Well,
during it.
Ira, I mean, I hear you, but also, it takes a while for for people to understand how manipulative the borderlines are because they present so well as the victim. See, like, if she was able to convince a judge that she was a victim, she's certainly going to be able to convince a lawyer in their office how much of a victim she is. I mean, I can picture her with the lip quivering, it's so fucking hard, and the tears that get forced out to make somebody believe that she's a victim. And so now you've got this person who's, I mean, as lawyers, like, we want to champion our clients. I do that with all of my male clients. I want to champion their causes and be like, you should have 50% custody. You're a good man. So I can understand why, if you were representing a woman who's a manipulator, who's going to play the part and be a victim in all of this, she's going to be like that. And then it's going to take a while for her to suddenly be like, okay, I see the pattern here. Okay, this pattern's going on. Like, okay, wait a second. My client actually is the problem in this scenario. It does take a while.
Listen, David,
Look
being
how
in
long it took Danny to realize it.
what 18
And
years or
Danny
so,
was living
it
with
was.
her.
Well, when she wasn't running away over 50 times,
Well, yeah,
or living in another state or living at someone else's house because Barbara would just dump her.
sure.
But I got to tell you, on the other side of your argument with this is that me in 31 years in law enforcement, public service prior to that as well, you get a good judge of people right off the bat, like when I deal with people out on the streets, of their truthfulness, of their honesty, of their character right off the bat. And as a seasoned attorney, you should be able to pick up on that immediately in the beginning when your first client comes in for an initial consultation. So when I
I've been burned. I got to tell you, I got 27 years experience. I've been burned.
thinking that you were doing the right thing for the right person and it didn't turn out that way. Well, I guess
Yeah.
that's when you got it. But the problem is that My last attorney, he would not play that game. He would only produce factual arguments and documentation, but the other half wouldn't do that. So that's what bombarded the judge over and over and over and over again. And the judge is saying to himself, because he's immature and lack of knowledge, and shouldn't be sitting in the bench. He's like, okay, well, I've got these seasoned veteran attorneys, who are these hot shots, blah blah blah, because he was all in front of the cameras and the media. Why would they be lying to me? He was a brand new attorney, his first month or two. So he's thinking to himself, like, why would these guys lie to me? And they did.
I'm not debating that.
And
a lot of their lies were probably manufactured by the borderline, the honey badger of humanity.
Right. And then trying to scare me with their tactics about weeks and weeks of trials and how much money. And then my attorney came up to me once, said, this is a really odd story. After, I guess, we went outside for a break, and my attorney said to me, he goes, I think it's time for you to go find a psychiatrist. I said, a psychiatrist? I was like, where'd that come from? He goes, the attorneys have these marching orders to, like, destroy you, destroy your career, to destroy your reputation, to make sure you're never a father to your daughter again, and you're going to need some help. And I'm saying to myself, this is the pattern. This is what other attorneys do. Truthful or not, this is what they do. And you, as an attorney, are telling me as a client to go seek a psychiatrist? Not a clinical licensed social worker, not a psychologist, but someone to pop me pills and give me medications to go through this horrific third world country family court system we have here. Unbelievable. That was so, and I'm not saying that he was out of line, but it was so surprising that he knows what comes next. He knows that people's lives are ruined, destroyed, and even taken by their own selves by killing themselves because of the hardships of the family court system. And I'm here to tell these dads, mostly dads, don't do it. Don't take your life. Your child will be 18 one day. Your child will realize the truth. And if you kill yourself and remove yourself from this earth, your child will never have the opportunity to hug you, to kiss you, to show a tear, and you will never be able to tell your story to your child. So don't do it. I beg you, don't do it. It's not necessary. Listen, it's hard. It's hard. And I say it all the time. That tunnel that you're going through is dark. It is dark. It is dark. It is dark. You're looking for the light, and that light's coming. But if you kill yourself 6 feet under, your battery on your iPhone is going to die eventually, and that light is going to go really black. So please, there's other ways, there's other people out there, there's other resources, other things to do to sustain your hardships in this family court system. So I don't mean to preach on that, David, but I get very mad.
No,
very
you
upset.
preach, brother. That was it. Listen, I'm not a huge religious guy, but people find their purpose, and clearly the silver lining for you out of this horrific experience you've had to go through and had Danny's had to go through is you get to carry the light to others.
Mm-hmm.
So you preach. You need to do that more, because you've got a hell of a story of going through hell, coming through it, surviving it, reunifying with your daughter. And so now you have the opportunity to carry that message to others, and you need to do that.
Yes. And others need to realize it. It's not this, even though my name starts with an I, it's not I. It's about we, and it's about everybody. It's about unifying to understand there is support, there is help, there's other options out there. There's not the risky behavior, the substance abuse, the alcohol, the behaviors that put you through this. There's other ways. There's therapy you could do. There's diets you could do. There's physical activities. There's friends. There's support groups. There's so many other things that could help distract your bad thoughts of taking your life and or others before you do that. Believe me, there are. And I'm a survivor of all this stuff. I didn't do that risky behavior. I didn't do the drugs. I didn't do the alcohol. I worked out hard. I
So
still
what
worked
did
out
you
hard.
do?
You know.
What did you do? How did you get through this stuff?
So my wife, awesome. She's been with me since day one. My
Yeah.
mom, my dad, um, some coworkers, my grandmother at the time, uh, therapists, not psychiatrists, some therapists,
Hmm.
physical activity, going to the gym all the time, played a lot of tennis, tried to have a big, strong external life outside of your career and get involved in other activities. So there was a lot of things, because if you just sit there and you dwell and you dwell and you think, and you think and you think and you think, and you're not doing anything productive, it's not helpful. So you have to keep busy. You really do. You have to align yourself with positive things, even though it'll kick back in your head every once in a while. Listen, when I played a lot of tennis, and I kind of miss it, I'm going to go back on the courts I played since I was a little kid. I played in college, and I'm a certified coach to this day. When I play tennis and I focus, the only thing I'm focusing on is where that ball is coming and where that ball is going next. So that stuff in the back of my head about the motion that just came through, or about the lies or the complaints or whatever, is disappearing because I'm doing something outside of this realm. I know it's going to hit me in the face again, but I don't want to continuously hit me in the face. I want to change it with positive reinforcement stuff to make me be able to move on to the next day and the next week and the next motion, the next court date and the next frivolous complaint and the next bill from the attorney and where am I going to get this money and all this other kind of stuff that you think about. So there is things you could do. I'm not a therapist. Believe me, I help a lot of people. My first career as a volunteer firefighter, EMT. I was a paramedic in New York City and a police officer for 31 years. My whole life is about helping others. So I'm not a therapist, but I could tell you what worked for me and what could probably work for you. Um,
Mm.
you can't go through so much stress in your life thinking that it's the end, because there's a lot more than just the end. You have to
Were,
fulfill
were
that
you
space.
were you part of a support group through all of this?
So I had a lot of people. It's very interesting, David. After my daughter was a Dr. Phil, I had a friend who's an IT person and very big into computers. And he goes, "Hey, you know, I guess you could monitor somehow." He goes, "You were the number one search person in the world the day after Dr. Phil," because everybody wanted to know who Danny's dad was, because it was on the show.
Sure.
There was a blurb there, and they're like, Danielle Peskowitz, her name is Peskowitz, who's her dad, whatever. So we searched and searched and searched. And then people started to reach out to me through social media, through emails, calling my job, trying to reach out to me and stuff. And then I got a lot of advocates from other parental alienation support groups reaching out to me. And I want to tell you that was a big help as well. Like I said that before with support groups. You don't know what a person's going through until you've gone through it yourself. So when you align yourself with other parents who went through it, they feel the same pain that you feel. They went through the same emotions that you've gone through.
Right.
You could sit here and you could tell them all this stuff, but if you don't feel it, and if you don't feel the pain and the suffering and have the scars from it, it's not the same. So when I talk about it to others who went through it, it helps me. And I'm not saying like I said before, me is not as so unique as what happened to with my daughter. I just got the recognition because my daughter became infamous and eventually famous around the world. So that's why people reached out to me to help with them and for me to get my story out so they could help them with their passions, their goals, their vision of what they're trying to do to help conquer parental alienation in the failed family court system. So
Yeah.
um, it did help reaching out to some of these people. And I thank them, and I still have contact with them. I always have open contact with people, and I still get odd people from around the world that contact me and say, "Hey, Ira, how'd you do this? Hey, Ira, how'd you do this? Or how could you direct me or help me to sustain this, or they ask this. I'm not an attorney, so I can't give legal advice, but on my training and experience, I could kind of explain certain things, what to do, what to expect, and how to deal with it. And one of the
Mhm.
things, I tell all these people is that, we tell people to, a lot of times, to obtain an attorney. And a lot of people have this false sense of, okay, I put my $5,000 retainer fee, I'm good, I'm solid. And then that $5,000 is gone really quickly. And then it just adds up and it adds up and adds up. So I don't want people to feel, and I'm not discrediting you, David, but some people don't understand that when you give your initial amount of money, it's not going to be the end. And some people don't
Uh,
realize that. People think
yeah,
that this $5,000, you're going to make everything nice and happy and la, 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 la. Meanwhile, that money is gone really quickly, and that because you spent a lot of time, and people have, paralegals and maybe private investigators, or people have to go research
right.
things, and and or you have to hire people, specialists, or people who are expert witnesses. So there's so many other bills that you have besides just the initial fee, and it's a hard battle. It's a really hard battle. Um,
It is a hard battle, and that's one of the reasons why I started Dad's Law School, was because guys are running out of money. Like, they still need to fight for their kids, but they can't afford 50, $100,000. Like, your average person can't do that. But the court system allows the females who play the victim such great power that these guys have to have something in their corner, which
mhm.
is why I built Dad's Law School with the online courses that teach dads how to represent themselves. It's why I wrote the book, Dad's Child Custody Action Plan. It's why we had the VIP program that has the weekly meetups so that guys can get the support. Because, like you said, if you don't have somebody in your corner that knows what this is like, it's just inconceivable.
Yeah, it
I
is.
can't tell you how many of my clients are like, nobody gets this. Nobody understands. They all think that I'm the problem because she's so convincing. And
Well,
that's the sad reality, is that these guys are so lonely, so isolated, so ready to take themselves out of the picture entirely because it gets so overwhelming.
listen,
That's why we built those.
if I'm at the end of my career, I retire, not soon enough, but soon. If if I was if I want to do something at the end of my career and be a private investigator to help these fathers and or mothers realize that these stories that are coming up are frivolous, that's a passion that I have. That's something that I could produce. But my next question, David, is that even if I prove that the other parent is lying, it might help you, it might not even help you. Judges allow some of these things in there, but but it is so easy these days to. I don't want to say this, but I know you get this initial feeling that the person's on the ball, this and that, whatever. But if you hire somebody in your corner that knows how to find these manipulative patterns, to find these omissions, to find these altered documents, to find these social media posts, to interview witnesses, to talk to neighbors, to talk to coworkers, to go out there and gather information about the other party. And I'm not focusing on being a henchman. I'm just focusing on getting the facts for the truthful person and who is the true victim of this case.
But see, I hear that, but that's chasing flying monkeys. And the reality is that when you're dealing with these honey badgers, you're never going to be able to catch all the flying monkeys. What we have to do is we have to get the judges educated so that they are the ones who are starting to see the patterns, so that they're the ones who are able to start seeing, like, oh, you're a honey badger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I need to start discrediting off the bat what you're saying because I recognize that you're a borderline personality. This is where, you can teach the clients stuff all day long. You can go out there and you can help them fight and disprove every false allegation. But until the judges get on board and recognize, like, oh, this is a honey badger, that's just going to be an endless battle.
But that's why you have to go out to conferences, you have to go out and speak, you have to have people. I'm not saying listen, I probably could be an expert witness in the family court system and parental alienation because of what I've been through and what I've seen to kind of share. Hey, listen, Your Honor, or to the courts, this is a pattern. This is a behavior. I know from like I said, training and experience, and have been a victim of it, that this is not truthful. This is just a MO, method of whatever. Cut that one.
Modus operandi.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, it took my tongue. Uh, but judges need to know that. And again, can we blame the judges? Should the chief judge know when they're putting a judge in front of family court? Should that judge have experience in family law? Listen, they rotate judges all the time through our courts. They go from civil to criminal to juvenile to family court, and some of these judges have zero experience in family courts.
Nobody wants to be in family court. These judges don't want to be there.
No, of course not.
They
You
get
think they want
burned
to
out.
sit
They
there?
don't want to deal with these crazies.
No, it's unbelievable. It really is.
Oh,
I
it's
do.
also understandable. Like, okay, you dealt with one borderline personality, like one crazy person. Now imagine having 20 of those 5 days a week. And that's probably an overstatement. Maybe you've got 10 of those 5 days a week in your court.
Right.
The rest of your court docket is probably pretty normal. People come in for 1 or 2 times and then they're done, they're out, you never see them again.
Right.
You know, it's
But
the small piece of the super crazies that are in court all the time. If you're in court all the time, one of you is crazy,
yeah,
if
and
not
that
both of you.
and if you go to the clerk of the courts and you see all the motions that the mother put in over and over and
Yeah,
over and over and over and over and over again on behalf of her and behalf of my daughter, you'll see who the crazy one is.
yeah. The
Listen,
crazy does start. It's like cream. It does eventually rise to the top, and you're like, oh, that's what's going on there. That's the case I'm in right now. Mom is. This is her fourth ex parte for a 3-year-old in the last like 6 months to get sole legal medical care because dad's too difficult to work with. Like, no, that's not the issue.
right? That's the issue.
Not the problem. You're the problem.
Yes. Or you talk about problems. Think about the career in law enforcement, how they use cops to go over to people's houses to harass
Ah,
the other parties. They call and do welfare checks over and over and over again. And there are times that me as a supervisor, at times I could say, hey, no, we're not going there again. We're not going there at 3 o'clock in the morning because the kid didn't answer your time at 8 p.m. and you want me to go knock on the door at 3 a.m. in the morning to make sure the kid's okay. No. Or the
yeah,
repetitive stuff all the time. You're
sure.
not
You
using a
guys
third
get
party.
used. You
Right.
become tools of abuse.
Right.
The
Right.
same way
And you can't.
domestic violence restraining orders become tools of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
The same way the court system is abused by the borderlines. Those are the people that need to be, frankly, declared vexatious litigants. And then they have to go through a court system before they can file anything again.
Listen, I,
And that's
I
a hard thing to do because most judges, their standards for vexatious litigants, not just walk in and be like, declare them a vexatious litigant. You've got to prove like there's a whole history.
Well, I think with the mother of my daughter, there is a history
Oh yeah.
of fictitious litigation on and on and on again, and not only just in the courts, but you could if there was a RICO case on on somebody who has abused the system and go back through day one, this is
Sure.
someone who would fit the criteria for a RICO case for an organized scheme to defraud the system and defraud a father and defraud a daughter
Absolutely. And there's a
and
lot
to
of that. There's a
use
lot of
and to
defrauding the
use
system.
lies and perjuries and altercations of documentation and stuff. There's so many things I'm not going to get into that she's did in the background that I can't believe even went through. I'll give you a quick example. One of them was I was randomly checking my driver's license we got a new system. I check my driver's license, make sure it's valid, because every month you have to make sure your driver's license is valid on your inspections and all that kind of stuff. And I read my driver's license, it said suspended. I'm like, suspended? I'm like, I'm driving my car, I'm driving a work vehicle, and suspended for 9 months for failure to pay child support. And I'm like, I got no letter, no notification. Nobody told me anything about this. And I have an income deduction order. How in the heck was my license suspended? I want to know. I want to know what she produced, or who in the clerk of the courts in the Department of Revenue sent something over to the Department of Motor Vehicles to prove that I wasn't paying child support.
Yeah.
So not only was it frustrating that my license was suspended, what about being a hypocritical police officer out there writing tickets of people who have license suspended? I will, to this day, and I'll tell you right now, I will not write a father or a mother if their license suspended due to financial obligations, because I know how the system screwed me. I can't do it. How do I know that? How do I know that just because it says it, that it's truthful? Because I had it done to me. So what I had to do, I had to pay an attorney, I had to go in front of court, I had to argue this. That was one thing. Or another thing, David, everything was done in Florida. She throws Danny off to New York to live with the family because she can't deal with Danny. She summons the Department of Revenue in New York City, and they're sending me letters about child support and how they're going to garnish my wages. And I'm saying to myself, what is going on here? They have no jurisdiction. They have no right to do that. And they're telling me they're going to garnish my wages for child support when I'm paying child support? You're freaking out. So what did she produce to them to show them that they had any legal binding obligation from another state to send me something? Right? What did she do? Who did she
lie. She cried. The lips quivered. They have no idea how hard it is to be a single mom.
Yeah. So you could see these are the things that I went through, besides the family court, but the external stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, Ira, to anybody who hasn't gone through it. To anybody who has just a passing experience of family law, absolutely. People who've never been to family law, unbelievable. Anybody in the system, 100% believable. I had a case. My guy had paid $25,000 of child support. Mom went in and said he never paid it. They took his passport. They took his driver's license. Took him 6 months to clear his name, to go back in and have them do an audit on their own systems to prove that they're the ones that, just like you, had collected it, had paid it. But she goes in, she lies, crocodile tears. They get all the bells and whistles going. All of a sudden, well, sorry about that. And can he do anything? No. Is there anyone to sue?
Yeah, but who should be accountable? Because I wanted to know who sent that up to the Department of Motor Vehicles. Who is the person in the clerk of the courts or the Department of Revenue who sent that? I want to know. And what proof did they have? And I never got that. Never got that information, because you screwed up. And talk about accountability. Are you held accountable for a mistake like that? Are you? No, they're not. No. Oh, sorry.
They're in their own world.
Right. They're in their own world. And another part I think with her is that she annoys people so much. She just keeps poking and poking and poking. People just do what she wants just to get rid of her. I really do. Yeah. I believe they just
absolutely.
They just.
But that's why they're called honey badgers.
Right.
Honey badger don't care. They're just honey badgers. They're relentless. They're horrible human beings.
They are. But
listen, we can go on for another hour, but I gotta get you off of this because I know you gotta go play tennis. So I just final thoughts for the dads who are going through all this stuff. You did a great piece earlier, but I just want to go with final words. What are you thinking?
Hang in there. Stay the course. Be focused. Always be honest. Have your morals and your ethics in line. Don't do that risky behavior I talked about before. There's always support groups out there. There's always people out there to help you. It gets dark, but I'm telling you, there's light at the end of the tunnel, because I have my daughter back. My brothers have their sister. I have a granddaughter. My daughter came to light to realize, hey, that I wasn't the problem. Took a while. It hurt a lot. And there's hope. There is hope. Just stay the course, but don't do anything that will be detrimental for you to be a father. Because once this comes out and you make a bad mistake, that could ruin your chances in the future. So just hang in
I
there,
agree.
folks. We get it. We feel it. We understand it. Um, and you too will be a dad again or a mom for sure.
Ira, thank you. This was wonderful. Definitely going to have another conversation with you about all this stuff. Go enjoy your tennis game and give my best to Danny.
I will, and I'll see you in California next month.
All righty, buddy.
All right. Thanks, David. Bye.
Stay on.